Right, okay, Pete. Um, just a quick update on what's going on with the channel. Obviously, there's been no content been added as of late, mainly due to both personal things and, of course, you know, what was going on in the world at the moment. As you can see, Christmas was a bit of a mess. I also now have the PS5, which is another reason for this stream, because I need to test whether the PS5 camera obviously is all, you know, good to go. Glitch theme tune here. In fact, yeah, I'll just come a bit closer to being on camera. So, to reiterate, just a bit of an update to the channel. Yeah, there's not really been a whole lot going on, content-wise, owing to multiple reasons. Of course, there's you know, the Rona. Luckily, I personally haven't suffered from it, touch wood, but and lockdown doesn't affect me overly in the same way that it affects a lot of people, because most of my sort of time is spent in a similar state of sort of not going out as much, which you can probably tell from the state of everything. Yeah, I mean, my room's a bit of a tip at the moment, so you know, that again is something that is important for the update. So yeah, just not many items to cover. They're just fairly big items. So over the process of this year, some of the USR content should, if the plans go correct, should be coming back. So you should expect to see more racing content on the channel. Obviously, with the release of the PlayStation 5, which I obviously have, you know, there's a DualSense here for those of you that haven't seen that I am on the DualSense. Although I am not playing the PS5 game, I'm currently retrospectively playing The Crew 2 just for a bit of background. It's not really it's just there for a bit of filler, to be honest. It's not really relative to what's going on, but you know, just gonna head into the garage. It's a space full of cars, really, isn't it? You know, and I think that's a more appropriate setting for the content of this channel. So, as you can see, the wheel is still here. It hasn't gone. You know, it does still exist. I haven't jumped ship and thought, oh well, I've got a DualSense or two now, you know, so I don't really need it. Not the case. The Fanatec is currently under a cover, to keep it warm during the winter, because it's sort of had, you know, I've kept it up and running. You know, I've used it a few times, you know, switched it on every 2 or 3 weeks, you know, keeping it moving so it doesn't seize or burn out or, you know, all that sort of stuff, because it's going to be needed, of course. Obviously, it's a bit unusual to be on camera wearing sort of my normal civic stuff, I guess, because I'm normally, you know, in my race shirt and all that sort of crap. You know, normally my Sparko shirt with my gloves and boots on and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, going forward, some of my house is going to be moved about a bit, or at least that's the plan anyway. So a lot of this stuff is going to be going into the spare room, which is just the other side of this wall to my right hand side, which probably pointing left on the stream because, you know, cameras opposite and stuff. Yeah, the reason I'm not looking directly into the camera is because I'm feeling a bit awkward, because I haven't been on camera in such a long time. So, and also not since I grew all this out, and it's a bit of a mess today. So, yeah, obviously over Christmas gained a few pounds. I mean, I've lost some probably since last time I was on camera, but I feel a bit bloated. So yeah, the Fanatec's still here, and so is the playseat. Obviously, as you can see, that's my rig. You know, it's still there for the time being. It is gonna move into the room just the other side of that wall. The plan is to get some, you know, Ethernet cables, and trunk it from this room, which is my bedroom, as you can see from where I'm sat. As there's only really the seat and this, so yeah, it didn't feel appropriate to be in the seat. Both either just whilst I'm doing neutral things, or when I'm gonna be potentially, you know, it's potential at the moment, but I'm very keen on the idea, and it's definitely a major plan that I hope to achieve for this year, in order to sort of allow things to be a bit more simple, and B, so you don't have to see my tip of the bedroom every time. So yeah, there's that. The plan is that some of the items that are currently in the spare room won't be in there. Some of them are items that I used when I was a bit younger, when I was a bit more of a kid. I mean, one of my first channels. Okay, so my first channel was I guess it's a little bit of a history tangent. If you know me and you've ever seen any of my videos with audio in them, you'll know that I go on tangents all the time. So just bear with. So I had a channel. I can't remember if it's still there or if it's still got those videos on, but it showed a model railway layout update because at the time I was obsessed with watching them, and so I had one, but it wasn't done very well, and track work was all over, and etc. You know, it's not really relevant to this channel to go into so many details. Basically, I couldn't achieve what I wanted to, and that was in my old house. Since we moved to this particular property, and I've always had this has always been my bedroom. The spare room next to me, just to the side of this wall here, on that side, just over my right shoulder, is like the spare room. So that was originally my mum's bedroom. When we moved in here in 2014, during which the channel was known under my gamer tag, which was, of course, Ashpill98, which had a host of videos. I'm not sure if the channel is still up. I think it is. I think you can access some of those. There's a lot of my racing videos, and there's a few random gaming videos. Because obviously at that point, you know, like most kids in school, really, like most people, like between the age of like 13, you know, well, between like 11 and 16, you know, I kind of thought, oh, you know, I spend a lot of time either on video games or on YouTube. So, you know, when I'm in the house, like when obviously I'm not away at football tournaments or, you know, visiting grandparents or whatever, because obviously we could have lives prior to the epidemic. So, well, not epidemic, it's pandemic. But don't really give a shit. They have the same implications, really, on everyone's sort of activity and welfare at the moment. So it's not really relevant to go into it all, is it? Basically, yeah, it just became a bit stale. You know, I had a mishmash of things where I tried to convince, you know, either trying to convince some of my mates to, you know, to do videos. So I didn't really do many. At 12, you know, I did a few railway videos, and I even attempted a FIFA career mode video, as stupid as that sounds. And that, I can remember which channel that was on. That was on a channel called FIFA Ash 98. I'm pretty sure that has been inactive for so long that it has been deleted, because I'm pretty sure it was 2011 or 2012. So I would have been about somewhere between, I can't remember exactly when. No, it was a FIFA 12 career mode, where I was with Heracles Almelo, because I remember actually someone who watched, I think there was a Heracles Almelo supporter who actually commented saying, wow, it's you know, I've never seen anyone really do one before. So yeah, obviously, as you can tell, there's probably some evidence in my room that I'm a keen football fan. You know, there's some football pictures up on the wall here, and you know, that cabinet there is a football team inspired one. So, I mean, I'm not going to really go into that, because this is a racing channel, or has been at one, you know, or, well, it is, you know. I do have a second channel, which I planned to do all my sort of football content on. So I was gonna do a PES series. You know, I looked into doing things like Pro Evo, FIFA, Football Manager, and obviously real life football content. Now, I can't film any of my real life actual matches or training sessions due to A, not really having the right sort of camera, and B, the team I play for, well, no real easy way of saying this is, I had mentioned it on the channel before, is that I suffer from autism and ADHD and things like that. So I'm not really, you know, as normal as you either may think I am, or if you think I'm as mad as a box of frogs, then you're still well off the mark. I'm unique and possibly a little bit crazy in places, but I'm not a complete lunatic. Not quite. If you say otherwise, I'll send the boys round for you. So, no, just joking, of course. you know, I think we'll stop completely adoring this R34, because yeah, everyone can see that's, you know, that's there. In case you're wondering, this is the Crew 2, mainly. I thought it makes for some good filler. You know, I've got Nismo GTR 35. I forgot the R390. This is one of my favourite cars. This is a road-going version of their Le Mans car from the 90s. Yeah, brilliant. So you probably noticed across here. Now this is a car I'd love to have in real life. Mental bright green Diablo GT, but I've kind of tried to style it to look a little bit like the GTR, but with a Diablo GTR, which I think was sort of a more exclusive version of the Diablo GT, in that it had more, you know, had a bigger, you know, had the big spoiler at the back, a little bit of a redesign after that the Diablo got a facelift. I think they did the GTR rather than just the standard GT, which had the, you know, the flip up lights. So yeah, the only thing missing on this, you know, it's in that lovely sort of Lamborghini sort of voltage green colour. The only thing I'm missing really is the big SV sticker on that rear quarter panel. I think, yes, I know it's the GTR Diablo, but to me that's no point. You know, I want the SV sticker on it. The same as there's a Gallardo Superleggera over there. Again, in that sort of lovely metallic green. Egoista, which, despite it being a Lamborghini, I absolutely think, I think that car's absolute trash to look at. I think it's a bit, it's like Lamborghini just thought, let's just go mental, but it's not a good mental. Obviously we've got a Lamborghini Murcielago, which I've kind of styled in the sort of SV sort of format. Kind of a cross, you know, it's got inspiration from, like, say, a GTI, from like the Diablo GT and GTR, you know, the sort of scoop coming from the engine cover at the back. And obviously, you know, the sort of dark brims and the big spoiler. But that one's in the lovely sort of Lamborghini purple, which I wanted to do with Diablo in, but couldn't. Although I could, yeah. So we've got a Huracan. I've tried to do a similar thing. You know, I couldn't quite get it. So I've also got the, you know, but it's got the sort of the nods to sort of Performante, you know, like the sort of Italian sort of thing, Italian detail on it. Anyway, why am I explaining cars when it's a channel 8? Again, tangent. Right, so getting back onto the point at hand. The sim racing content hopefully should be coming back at some point in the not too distant future. But it all depends really on how everyone's situation is, because obviously not many people really talk about, you know, running a racing league. Now I've competed in the racing league, and I've competed in a couple of other people's leagues, both before after and during running a league and setting one up. Setting it up was very easy. You just, if you've got 2 or 3 people that are all interested, you say, right, we're making a league, and you set about making a group chat and whatever. Then the hard part is actually getting people to join, and all the recruitment and organisational side is very difficult. Now, USR started with me and a couple of others. Now, this isn't a shoot or a hit out at anyone, but it was started with 3 of us who were all best friends at the time, who we'd all been racing in a particular league which now doesn't exist, or rather it exists but it's been renamed, and it has also been featured on this channel. So yeah, hello SSR, hopefully you've learned to drive without crashing into each other all the time yet, or whatever name you've got now, and you haven't got the situation where you've got admins taking everyone else out and then winning races all the time. Oh dear, I think I just accidentally said out loud what I meant to say in the brain. Oh well, big loss. I don't want to go back. I wouldn't come back to your league if you really wanted me to anyway. Now, we were so miffed by our experience in that league, which is what prompted us to start USR, or to give it its full name, Ultimate Sim Racing. Now, it was done with myself in conjunction with Mark F1, or better known on YouTube as 94 F1 Senna, and Senna Boy F1. Unfortunately, there was an incident, and I won't go into a lot of details about it, but it involved a league that all 3 of us had been running in for, that both myself and Ben had been running in for a very, very long time. I believe Ben still does run in that league, which is why I don't really want to go too much into it. And also, it's kind of the reason why my old channel, which is under my gamer tag, doesn't really, why there's so many issues with it. There was a certain culture in that league which, due to my life experience at the time, shall we say, I wasn't noticing certain things, and when they sort of came out, when certain things were noticed and then called out, disagreements were had and people went their separate ways, is the best way of putting it. And that was shortly after the creation of USR in February 2019, around Valentine's Day, I think it was sort of created. But I don't think there was anything, because it took us a little bit to get it off the ground. I think it took us a month or 2 maybe to get it off the ground. But by mid 2019 we were there. And originally we were going to start on Project Cars 2, and do more of a heavy sim-based championship, sort of like what it ended up in the end, or like what we wanted it to turn into, which it hasn't really got to that point, because we got to a point where we were in a position to, excuse me, where we did get to a point where we could do that, but then we suffered from a few cases of certain drivers not being able to handle certain rules. Like assists always being off, having to, not just start with a full tank of fuel and going all the way to the end, mandatory pits and all sorts of stuff. Some people struggled with certain aspects that we're bringing in to try and make it more difficult for everyone, and try and level the. We were trying to get it. We suffered from issues that real life Formula One suffers from, in that trying to get the sporting aspect and the entertainment aspect sort of level, rather than sort of going full sim and the sport being better, sporting element being better, but the entertainment being low because no one's either near each other, or people are struggling and stuff like that. And then so all that kind of stuff. Now that meant that due to the influence of one of our 3 co-owners to start off with, well, he did a lot of Formula One, and so as we'd ran in FSR on the F1 game, we went with it. So our first 3 seasons were done on the Formula One games. I believe was F1 2018 that we started on, and we moved, I think, either right at I think it's the final race of the 2nd season or the beginning of the 3rd season that we moved to F1 2019. For season 4, this is after certain incidents had happened, we were left with only 2 of the original 3 co-owners, and we had several people who were in the driver stable, at any given point, we've tried to give them a foothold in an experience of being able to take some responsibility and help manage a league, by just giving them some junior duties, like just helping us out with organising and running. Some of the time that's worked, but obviously for everyone there's a point where they can take certain things and not take others. So yeah, it's always mainly been myself and 94 F1 Senna running it up until a short while ago. Well, I say a short while ago, a short while before the stoppage of content. So the stoppage of content mainly came down to personal issues, in that because 94 F1 Senna needed to return to work. He needed to return to work, and therefore some of these duties would become harder to fill. So it got left down to me with a lot of stuff. And whilst I've always been one of the creators, founders and co-owners of a co-creator, co-founder and co-owner in USR, I found it too difficult for me in terms of mental pressure to do it all on my own. I did dealt with it for a little bit, but it started to affect my performance on track. It started to make me lose my temper a bit, and just made it harder overall to really keep the league going in the direction that it was intended. And also I have a different way of managing to the others, and that's where 94 F1 sort of came in. He's more experienced than me, he's older than me, so we come from different ends of the same coin. We have the same sort of ideals, I guess. In many ways we're very similar, but there's some differences as well. And that meant that at times there would be disagreements in terms of what action should be taken and when. So some things that I wouldn't have considered to be urgent were urgent. And obviously, I'm a younger person. Might not look it, but I'm not 20. I'm 23 next month. So I'm still a young guy. I've been doing sim racing since 16. I did 5 years in the league and before moving to someone else's. So I very much come from a sort of a culture of, okay, well, having been in someone else's league and not really being akin to sort of running my own individually. So now, obviously, the league that I had been in, the guy who created that league and ran that league pretty much made every decision. It wasn't like he had an absolute network of people around him helping him making certain decisions. So it was never really like a democracy. It was very much a dictatorship. And ours, we wasn't really the same. So it was like we would try and do decisions that us as owners wanted to do and what fitted with our personal, the way that we believe that a league should be run, and also trying to keep all the drivers happy and everything. And that for me is very mentally taxing. So every so often for me, on my own, I need a break from that, and that's where it stemmed from. The lack of content of recent was I needed a break. Quite frankly, I needed to stop because the pressure on myself, even though it was probably the lowest amount of duties that I'd had to do, I probably had more actual tasks and duties to do when I was sort of working with another co-owner than when I was just, sort of running the show by myself, even though I'm still only a co-owner, because, they're still considered to be a co-owner, even if they had no obligation to fulfill those duties. But me personally, I sort of saw it a little different. So yeah, that sort of contributed heavily. Hello to the 2 people watching. It's mainly, if you can see the title, it's just a channel update, just seeing what's going on. Because I needed to test the PS5 camera to check it was all working properly, and it's all good, it's all Gucci. And also there's a few things I wanted to address. So it's a test of both equipment and also just to update people on what the hell's going on. So getting back to it, yeah, the league content hopefully should be coming back soonish. Just once, it sort of depends on when I've sort of got my act together, I guess, and also when everyone is available and free and everyone's not busy. And also it depends if I'm brutally honest, it depends if everyone else has given up on it, because that could easily be a case, because that could easily happen, because it's been inactive for a few months now. It's probably sometime in the summer, I think. Maybe, yeah, in the summer, I think it was announced. Well, in the summer, that's when some of the problems started to hit. I think by September, October time, it had sort of been announced that it would be taking a break until further notice. Now, having spoken to a few people in the league, they are eager for it to come back, and there are plans to bring it back this year. So no, the USR project is not dead, it's just on hold. So that should be coming back this year. As I alluded to right at the beginning of the stream, certain changes to my property and surroundings are going to happen. So a lot of my sim racing equipment is going in the spare room, along with the consoles and stuff, so that I've got more of a dedicated space to make more content. So that kind of make it a little bit easier for me to not having to move everything off the seat onto the bed here every time I have to get in it. As you'll notice from all my streams, when I'm in the seat, there's, you know, carrier bags, trays, boxes on my bed, and it's, yeah, for me it's a pain in the ass. So, you know, it only takes 2 or 3 minutes, but it's sort of all the moving around of my room just gets on my nerves. Over a long period of time, it just riles me. So that's something that is a change coming in the next 12 months. Hopefully, if everything goes to plan, and that once that's all set up, that will be pretty good. And also, I think that may also allow me with the profits of whatever is sold from inside that room, because obviously certain items, I'm not, whilst I don't want to sell them, I'm never going to get around to using them, so they'll be hopefully finding their way to a person who continues to love them just as much as I do, but will actually get their intended use. So yeah, there's that, and that also should allow me to do new and exciting things with more space. It'll give me a dedicated space for the wheel, so because it's in my room and stuff, and it's it means my bedroom's always messy, because trying to keep my room as sort of a hub for everything, so trying to juggle having units for consoles, trying to have all clothes and sort of everything like that in here, and just how general life stuff, alongside like a massive sim rig, a laptop station and other stuff, and obviously a TV, because no duh, sort of thing, and obviously a bed, because bedroom. So I'm just trying to sort of get on with the fact that almost 23 now, I sort of need to close off certain aspects of being a child, and move on a little bit, and sort of focus more on just stuff that I enjoy now, not the stuff I enjoyed at the age of 6 or 10 or 12. Now, my interest hasn't changed a whole lot, hence why there's not a whole lot of change, but it'll be a change of scenery, but it will involve a lot of setting up, a lot of work, a lot of man hours. Turn a phrase, before feminists jump on my back or whatever. that's how the internet is nowadays. People look for excuses and yeah. So there's that. So yeah, basically, summary, I've made absolutely no sense in this video whatsoever, and I've repeated everything about 10,000 times and told most of the story but never got to the ending. So yeah, I come from a culture of being in someone else's league to then running someone else, running my own in collaboration with other people. Was a huge change, and then trying to run it mostly by myself, kind of, I was okay to start off with because I really didn't feel any change, but once change had sort of sunk in, it very quickly was starting to snowball week on week, in terms of pressure on myself, and I just eventually got to the point where it made my on-track performance so bad, like that the last sim race that's on here, I think it's me at Algarve. Now my car was dialed in. I got just enough, but I probably didn't get enough practice because I was doing, I was trying to juggle personal time as well, because running a league, once you get to a few seasons in, like 9, 10, 11, 12 seasons in, ideally you really shouldn't have to do a 24/7 job of the thing. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be a 24/7 job. It should be just a simple case of giving them say you race at the weekends. So, you give everyone a message at the start of the week, sort of as a hangover from the race, the day before, or the night before, say the race, Sunday evening, or, Saturday night, Sunday night. I think we did ours Saturday night, mostly. So, you give everyone a message on Monday, giving them all the, showing them the results of the points. So I had to do the points, produce it all, file it, screenshot it, send it to everyone in the chat, all that sort of, so there was admin tasks, and just making sure everyone's alright. Then sort of midweek, you sort of give everyone just, a little bit of attention just to acknowledge them, and then sort of, obviously, towards that sort of the end, the weekend, obviously you kick it a bit more into gear. The day before we had the practice sessions, and then obviously the races, which often fluctuated between having practice and racing on the same day, and practicing the day before or 2 days before. Yeah, basically it became a bit of a jumbled mess, which is why the decision was made to take a break. But that should be, so that's the long and short of it. There's no need to go into the rest of it anymore. It's a past, can't dwell on it. So yeah, basically the issues involving that and other issues, including just needing a bit of R&R, just needing a bit of time to be myself again, rather than the sort of professional version of myself that I had to try and force myself to be, which didn't really work. Which, ADHD for you. Yeah, so some of the sim racing, the sim racing element of this channel is the main focus. Obviously, it's kind of ironic that I'm on a game at this particular second as the filler content on the crew, which definitely, there's been no driving, let alone any racing, and there definitely hasn't been, and this is definitely not a simulator. This is, to start off with, I don't own all these wonderful cars. in real life. Unfortunately, it's a shame. In real life, I'm not allowed to drive on the road due to a medical condition. Or rather, well, now technically it's a bit of a minefield. I'm not allowed due to a certain medical condition, but I currently am, but there's also a potential that I might not be, depending on how each day goes, because I'm also epileptic. Now that can sort of play a bit of havoc as well. So if we're considering everything in the mix, running a league is much harder than just being in one. I didn't like the fact that I felt sort of hard done by, because obviously, some people, you make sure, you just do a simple tally to say you put a message in the chat asking how many people are going to be about, because obviously we had a minimum grid size of say 5 or 6, because otherwise it's not really a league race, it's a non-championship event, because there's no point giving points and stuff to 5 or 6 people and then not really doing anything for the rest of them. So it was trying to get everything working for everyone. It just became a bit of an impossible task, really. So yeah, that project is going to resume. The sim racing equipment and consoles and things I'm planning on building. I'm planning on moving all that into the spare room and having a sort of dedicated room for all that sort of thing. And obviously the stuff that leaves that room hopefully should give me enough cash to get a gaming PC, which also allow me to do other racing stuff and other games itself. So hopefully it would allow me to do things like R Factor and iRacing and Assetto Corsa and P-Cars and stuff like that on there as well. So I'd be able to do certain things more in depth, and and eventually over time probably get a VR for that as well. So I mean, to be honest, the fact that P-Cars 2 was promised to have VR from the get-go and still never got it on consoles, but it has it on PC, is, in my opinion, a bunch of... So, it's a bunch of you-know-what that really lets the game down when you compare it to the PC version. Also, I'd quite like to do GTA 5 on some of the mod servers, so that not mods as in cheats and stuff, but just so there's real life licensed vehicles, and some of the RP servers on there, which obviously if you haven't seen what they are, have a look at King Ham and Alanet and stuff like that. They sort of have a decent thing going on. So mainly because I like, it's probably something that hasn't really been mentioned a lot in the sim racing sort of era of this channel. Is that I've grown up playing stuff like Need for Speed and street racing games like Juiced and Midnight Club, back on the days of the PS2 and PS3, which, quite frankly, I'm sad that those types of games don't really exist outside of Need for Speed anymore. And even still, in a lot of games, it doesn't really exist, not to the same level. The good old days of of getting a car, customizing it, street racing it, and being able to explore the open world street racing culture sort of gone really, and now it's all about battle royales and pay to win and needing all the money under the sun, needing to marry the daughter or the offspring of an oligarch. In my case, I'd need to marry the daughter of a Russian oligarch or Arab sheikh or whatever in order to have them sort of funds at my disposal to constantly put money into projects like that, to make those games fun and also to make any chance of making them winnable, because I don't possess alien levels of talent on things of that nature. So I have more talent when it comes to sim racing and playing football than I do when it comes to playing like Call of Duty and all sorts of crap like that. And even when it comes to sim racing and football, I'm probably not alien level of talent, really. Let's face it. I'm above average, definitely, but I'm not Hamilton or Ronaldo or anything like that. So, let's not go in that sort of discussion. Yeah, obviously we had the pandemic to deal with, and that threw about changes and challenges for absolutely everyone, and hopefully everyone who sees this isn't suffering, and if you have suffered, then hopefully you've recovered okay, or are recovering okay, or will recover okay from stuff like that, and or anything really, any sort of issues and problems you might be having. Hopefully those resolve themselves. Obviously it's a new year now, so hopefully the ghosts of 2020, we can sort of move away from some of them now. Now obviously, when one door closes, another door opens. But let us hope that's not the sort of theme of this year, of being okay, defeating those issues, and then having another lot of equally as serious issues jumping back through the door quicker than you can close it. So yeah, that's the main purpose of this stream. I mean, it's probably been boring and babbling, probably just rambling completely, looking like an idiot, sound like an idiot, and talking about a load of inside stuff that you guys would have no knowledge of, and also the fact that I had 2 viewers at one point, and I was like 3/4 of the way through the stream, and one left pretty much instantly. So, to summarise, it was mainly to test my new equipment in terms of the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 HD camera, to check, obviously what sort of quality and the positioning and how it will look and how it gets used in order for me to operate it. I still have to look into getting an adapter. I still have to look into how the PSVR is going to work with the PS5, because I'm not sure how well I will get on with sim racing without it, because I don't really like to adjust like all sorts of stuff like field of view, like say in Project Cars 2, for instance, you can set it, like based on what car you're in. I don't like having to piss around, fucking about with that. I mean, it's okay, I can swear. I'm not monetized in any way. I wish I was, but I'm really not. No sponsors, no adverts. So, if anyone's advertising on this video, A, give me the money that you make for it, or don't advertise on my video, because there's hardly anyone to advertise to. Simple. And also, don't give them the satisfaction. Just skip them, because they're not paying me to have them on there. So it's really not benefiting me, and it's not benefiting you. It's just benefiting Google. And sorry, Google, you got a shit tons of money anyway. And you're blooming younger than me, and about 10 times richer. So yes, the stereotype, people in their early 20s who grew up, they all grew up with Google. No. Well, technically yes, but if you want to be literal, no. I'm from February 98. Google wasn't there until September of that year. So yes, I'm about 6 or 7 months older. No, I'm about 6 months older than Google. 6-7 months older than Google, so yeah, I did exist in a world without Google, and also with shit internet. Yeah, so I haven't always had that sort of privilege. Also, not that I'd have been able to use it like less than a year old. But, besides the point, it's just to sort of prove a point to those who want to be gobby towards me, really. But anyway, it's nearly 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the time of recording or broadcasting even. So I'd like to wrap this up with a brief summary. It's a quick update to test the PS5 equipment, which is working brilliantly so far, touch wood. Plans for obviously the Sim Racing League to come back, and plans that later in the year this sort of background and stuff won't exist. It'll be in the spare room, and I'm going to look into sort of a green screen and sort of and a gaming PC and things like that. But there's projects that I would like to pursue that would be enabled better by having a dedicated room for all my sort of gaming and racing related items, that would help both for those respective things and also just general cleanliness and tidiness and practicality of the whole house. So, or rather the areas that I'm responsible for in this house. It would make it a lot easier for me and make it tidier, so hopefully my landlord doesn't keep nagging. To be completely 100% honest, because the less said about that, the better. It's a good landlord, but posh people and working class people don't always get along too well because they're on completely opposite sides of the coin and don't really understand each other's lives. So that's where I'll leave that particular topic, because I don't want to carry on and babble. So yeah, sim racing equipment moving into the spare room later in the year. Hopefully hopefully the profits of what goes from the spare room to make space for the wheel and the rig to go in will add up to enough to get a gaming PC, and that will, or at least most of the way towards it, so that would allow certain other projects and other games to be played. So yeah, Also, most of the consoles will probably, if not all the consoles will probably go in there as well. And in the future, whether that happens this year or whether I decide to wait until next year, because obviously anything can change at the drop of a hat. You know, there could be family crisis, you know, pandemic crisis, related issues. There could be completely having to go back to normal, or, you know, simply projects that are underway could just take longer than anticipated. Yeah, hopefully by the end of this year, filming and recording will take place in the spare room. You know, the Ethernet cable and stuff connected to all the stuff in there, so there won't be a drop in quality, because I cannot use Wi-Fi in that spare room because it doesn't work, despite the fact that there's windows at the top of this wall here, so I can actually see from my bedroom into the spare room. But yeah, the internet seemingly cannot, and the internet is a much more complex thing than me, or rather it has much more power and influence than I do. So yeah, the fact that that's much more powerful and has much more influence than I do, as just a human being with multiple difficulties, it's kind of annoying in itself, but it's more annoying especially when it isn't able to do the simple tasks that you would like it to do. So yeah, essentially sim racing and gaming will move into the spare room, which will become a gaming room, although there probably will be elements of it being a spare room still. You know, there'll probably be a collection of football boots and stuff on display, and new clothes and other things that you don't, you know, sort of just expect to be in there, I guess. The PS5 equipment also works well, I think. I mean, from what I can see recording this, it's working well. Touch wood, of course. And of course I would, I guess I'm gonna close this out totally now by saying that hopefully everyone is okay and well. If you're not, get well soon, and I hope your issues are resolved, and not too serious. And yeah, happy Christmas or holidays, and also New Year, belatedly, of course, and all that sort of, you know, festivity related stuff, because I didn't post any content around there, unlike last year. And also just to sort of address certain things about why there's been a hiatus in content. And now obviously that doesn't mean that new content will be up like tomorrow, next week, or whatever. I guess the final topic, the final note of discussion is that a channel may be being created. I may create a third channel, because I have a football channel. Hopefully some stuff will go on there as well, if I find myself with the right time and opportunity. Then hopefully some action will be over there, which I will sort that out and address that in a video on this channel. Once that's all sorted out, and I'll go a bit more in depth at a later date, but hopefully, you know, I can get some stuff posted on there and get that up and running. And also a gaming channel, which probably which may involve with me, and might feature some of my friends in there. Which, the reason I don't really want to do that on this is because that would mean reconverting this channel back to multi-purpose, sort of general sort of gaming and whatever channel. Just a mishmash of various different sub-genres that really didn't work when I did it. It was very confusing, and I can't see a way where people. I know from when looking through other people's channels that all my sim racing stuff would either get lost and swallowed up by the other stuff, or people would only be watching for one thing and not the racing content. They'd be here for other content, and then I don't want it to be inconsistent. It's basically just for my mental health, so that everything's compartmentalised and better sorted. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to wrap up here, and as it's pretty much dead on 2 o'clock. Well, it's 1:57 according to my watch, so it's nearly 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd like to actually get on with the rest of my day, and also I feel like there's not really a lot more I can say without rehashing the same points over and over, and that this probably could have been a stream that this stream lasted over an hour and nearly an hour and 10 minutes, and it probably only needed to be about 20 minutes long. So yeah, anyway, sayonara, enjoy yourself, and stay safe.